I'm Chef Frank, this is Proto Cooks, and today we're making Hollandaise. So what is Hollandaise, Chef? It's one of the 5 mother sauces that we use in classical French cooking. And Hollandaise is one of those sauces that, because it's a mother sauce, you can make many other sauces with it. You'll notice when you go for a steak and a filet mignon, you'll get a béarnaise sauce. A béarnaise sauce is a hollandaise with tarragon and tarragon vinegar. So it's one of those sauces that you take, you can eat it by itself. In the case of hollandaise, you're gonna take that and you can make it into other sauces, or you can eat it alone. When you eat it alone, it's usually with something like Eggs Benedict. And this is something that I think that most home cooks are afraid to tackle. It is a little complicated, but with a little practice, you can get really good at it, and it's delicious. I've seen people make it out of packets, and it's just a waste of time. It doesn't take a lot of effort, and it doesn't take a lot of ingredients to make a really good hollandaise. This is also one of those foundational things that I teach students. I teach students this all the time. It's a foundational sauce. You should know how to make hollandaise. It's also something called an emulsified sauce. And what is something that's emulsified? When we emulsify, we're taking 2 ingredients like water and oil, and we're combining them with either mechanical force, which is whisking, or with chemicals, which is the egg yolk, to hold them together in a stable, kind of stable little cozy emulsion, right? So we want those 2 to stay together, but normally they wouldn't stay together. So we're gonna be whisking it, and the chemicals that are in the egg yolk will actually hold the butter and the water together as well. So this is what you need in order to make your hollandaise. This is a very basic one. We have 3 eggs. We're gonna use just the yolks. Some melted butter. I use melted butter. A lot of chefs will use clarified butter. We'll talk about that in a minute. Salt, lemon juice, water, and that is it. You can put other things in this, but I'm doing a basic hollandaise for you to kind of get this skill down. Let's start making the hollandaise. I'm gonna put some things aside. Let's put my butter aside for now. My butter is warm, and I want it to stay that way. I have my bowl that I'm gonna make my hollandaise in. Usually I use a metal bowl. You can't use like aluminum bowl. Make sure you have a stainless steel bowl. Sometimes the bowl will lend a weird color to your hollandaise sauce. So I use either glass or stainless steel. That's about a 1/4 cup of water. And I'm gonna use egg yolks. You can save the whites for these. I'm not gonna save them today because for the amount of whites that I have, there's nothing I can really do with them today. So I crack my egg open, go from shell to shell, drop my yolk into my water that's in my bowl. Right, we just want to use the yolks. If they break, it's not a big deal. Crack those eggs. Okay, so this goes here. I'm gonna save the lemon for later because you can add it now or you can add it later. I like to have that kind of fresh lemon flavor at the end. When I'm seasoning, I'm gonna add a nice hefty pinch of salt to this. And all I'm gonna do with this is whisk it together. Okay, so that's the start of my hollandaise. 3 egg yolks, about a 1/4 cup of water. I'm gonna start whisking it and getting it a little frothy. Okay? So let's go over to the water. I have some water here that's at a low simmer. I also have a towel in case my bowl gets hot. And I'm gonna put this on top of my water and I'm gonna start to whisk. Now this is where the key is, right? We wanna constantly whisk this as the eggs start to cook, right? And we don't wanna cook or scramble the eggs. So every time we feel like it's starting to get scrambled, that's why I have the towel. We can take this off of the heat. So we're doing a double boiler here, which is boiling water underneath that does not touch the bowl, and we're cooking in it. So right now what I really want to do is basically tilt it towards me a little and whisk. I want this to be nice and frothy and foamy, and I want the eggs to start to cook. We want to get as much air in here as possible. You'll see that it's starting to hold its shape. It's getting frothy. If you start to see on the sides that it starts to cook, just take it out of the water and whisk it off of the water. But basically this is what I want to do. I want to get it nice and frothy and get my eggs to start to cook. You want to keep this whisking. You want to keep this moving, because if you leave it on the top of the boiling water, you're just going to have scrambled eggs. So you want to keep this moving, keep it frothy and light. You can probably use a hand mixer with this if you want. I tend to use the whisk here. And I really want this to just get nice and frothy and start to firm up. There are other ways to do this. You can do this in a blender. I've seen blender recipes, and that's fine. But again, this is just my basic techniques. That's a foundational skill. What if I don't have a blender, right? I'm going to want this to be something I can do without a blender. So let's get as much air in there as we can. And once it starts to kind of get pale yellow and start to thicken, we're going to add our butter. You can see that it's getting nice and pale yellow. I just want it to come and get a little thicker. So what I'm looking for here is that when I run my whisk through, I start to see a little bit of ribbons, and it's taking a minute or two. So ribbons are when I run my whisk through, you'll see lines. So I'm starting to see those whisk lines. Okay, I'm going to shut my heat off. I'm going to bring it onto my board just so you can see a little better. I'm going to take a towel. I'm going to put it over my water so that I can start to add my butter. Cool. So, like I said earlier, I have warm butter here. A lot of times people will use clarified butter for this. I like to just melt my butter, because if you look in the bottom of this, this is my butter fat and then my milk solids. The milk solids have tons of flavor, and that's something that I want to go into my hollandaise. So I like that flavor of the milk solids. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start to add my butter slowly. I'm going to whisk as I add my butter, and this is going to make my emulsion. So you can see that I'm whisking and adding my butter slowly. Keep adding that butter. I'm going to get a nice light sauce. You don't want this to be like mayonnaise. You want this to be fairly light. Right? Nice. And now the milk solids are going to go in and give it some nice flavor. Good. Okay. I'm going to give it a taste. Gets a little lemon juice. I always squeeze my lemon. I cover up the cut part. I let the lemon juice run down my fingers. I'm going to put a little more salt. And that's our finished hollandaise. Let's give it a taste. What I'm looking for is this. I'm looking for that the sauce is kind of light and airy. It's not like a mayonnaise and heavy. It's pale yellow. It flows nice and smoothly. It's not too thick and lumpy. And it has a good buttery taste. We don't want it to taste like cooked eggs. So let's taste. Good. Buttery, light and fluffy, airy. A little bit of a hint of lemon. Delicious. This is probably one of the best sauces you'll ever make. It needs practice. It needs a little time. You need to learn how to do this technique. But I promise you, if you learn how to do this, you'll love it. And you'll do it all the time. I hope you enjoyed this video. Give me a like. Give me a thumbs up. Thumbs up. Give me a like. Give me a thumbs up. Subscribe. Tell your friends. Leave us a comment. I love hearing people's comments. Check out our Instagram channel, @ProtoCooks. You'll see a bunch of stuff on there that I'm doing on a daily basis, stories and things that I'm cooking and buying and eating and making. We now have merch. Need Salt shirts, okay? Need Salt mugs, totes, kids shirts, and hoodies. Yeah, hoodies. I almost forgot the hoodies. They're all below here or below on the screen below with Teespring. I hope you really enjoyed this video. I hope it was informative. I'm Chef Frank. This is Proto Cooks. Thanks for watching.